Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Nymphomaniac Volume 1. The first of two parts of I think it's like a 5-hour, 4-hour film called Nymphomaniac, made by Lars von Trier. It was cut up into two parts, and Volume 1 is available on demand now. This has obviously been talked about for a while, a sex film from him, having these actors do all this graphic sex on camera, some famous actors like Shia LaBeouf and Charlotte Gainsbourg, and exactly what this film was going to be like other than, a big budget porno or something. No one was really sure, but it is a lot better than a straight kind of sex movie. It's more entertaining, it's more eccentric, it's quirkier, and there's various parts to it, and you're never exactly sure what it's going to give you, which kind of makes it a lot more of a fun viewing experience than just seeing some, kind of creepy sex movie that Lars von Trier made, which doesn't automatically sound like an enjoyable film. Jo, played by Charlotte Gainsbourg, who on a cold winter's night is found by Sleegman, played by Stellan Skarsgård. He takes her back to his apartment, and she's all bloody and beaten, and he takes care of her and gives her some tea, and then she tells him her life story and her erotic journey from birth, pretty much, or really age 2, to her time now, and they get into almost a debate in a way, because he tries to apply theories to the things that she has done through her life, and she tells him that she's done a lot of horrible things in her life, and that she's a horrible person, and she tries to explain her horribleness through all the sexually explicit and all the many encounters she has had throughout her life. And she's extremely promiscuous and loves having lots of sex, and it goes from kind of the innocence of younger teenage sex to older, more disturbing and more explicit kind of young adult sex, trying to almost both explain herself to him and tell him her life story. It goes into various volumes where she meets people like Shia LaBeouf's character Jerome, who she initially loses her virginity to, and then he comes back. She has a friend who they go on a train and try to have a contest who can have sex with the most people on the train. Whoever does gets a bag of sweeties or chocolates, basically. And then they have a club where each of the girls can't have a boyfriend or have sex with the same partner ever again. They have to find new partners to have sex with. All the various things that she has done sexually throughout the years, and all the tons of partners she's had, and how she feels that's made her a terrible person. This film is a bit of a hard film to review because you're really only seeing half of a movie. You could also say, how could you review Kill Bill Volume 1 as well in the same regard, but I feel like that was a lot easier to do than this film, because it feels like almost half of a thought, because we're halfway through her life, her journey. Some have observed that the way the title is framed, he has a nymph and then kind of the keyboard signs for vagina and for O, and then maniac, and kind of showing that part 1 is about her as kind of a nymph, as a young girl coming into young adulthood, and then the next one shows how she took it too far and her nymphomania got even worse and worse. But no one knows because we haven't gotten there yet, and I don't know, so I can't really say. It seemed like Lars von Trier was having fun with this concept. I haven't seen a ton of his films, and I slightly enjoy them. I'm not a huge fan of Melancholia. It's part of his so-called Depression trilogy, and this film really wasn't as melodramatic with big classical scores and about the end of the world. It is a little more fun in a lot of ways, and I think it's also because it's about a young person first experiencing sex, and especially in the way this film portrays it, is a lot more fun, especially when you're young and just trying to get laid. That makes this film kind of more engaging, and had this film been 4 hours, I could have probably sat through more of it because I was really into it. And the character of Jo, who at first is played by Charlotte Gainsbourg in the present when she's telling Stellan Skarsgård about her past, and then Stacey Martin. Charlotte Gainsbourg and Stellan Skarsgård are always good, but Stacey Martin, who I'm not really familiar with, really played it very well, because you understand that obviously, like, she wants to get laid and she is very horny, but I think also that she's very addicted to it, and she needs to get laid in kind of a very dangerous, sad, almost disease way, the way alcoholism or a drug addict is. She plays that off very well, where at this point it's not completely unattractive and disturbing. It hasn't crossed that line yet. I think in a lot of ways it's a delicate line, and I think if you have a weaker constitution, I guess, as a viewer, I think you might find it disturbing a lot quicker, but I guess I don't, so it didn't seem as terrible, but it did seem like it was kind of verging in that territory, and then the film ended, and certainly it was kind of ruining her life in a certain regard, but it seemed like she was getting by for the most part. You don't really feel like it's really gone into nymphomania. She's just kind of the nymph, so I guess I kind of understand where that's coming from. And I like that Lars von Trier, it felt like a lot of times he was even pulling some Buñuel out. There's this one scene where she has about 10 different lovers apparently a night, which sounds crazy, and a full-time job, which I applaud her time management skills on that one. She tells this guy who's married that she can't be with him unless he can leave his wife and give her his full attention, and then he leaves. And then when she comes back and she's expecting another guy who she's going to have sex with, he tells her he has left his wife, and then his wife, played by Uma Thurman, shows up in a pretty hilarious, crazy scene. You kind of forget you're watching Nymphomaniac. You just get so wrapped into how ridiculous this is. And Uma Thurman, it's one of those scenes where you have to have a particular actress who can play off that kind of mania of like wanting to see where your now ex-husband is living with his new, girlfriend, and she takes their kids, and she, wants to show the kids the whore's bed, and she wants to show them around the apartment, and it's an incredibly awkward scene, but it's incredibly captivating at the same time. And Uma Thurman uses both her intensity and her matter-of-factness and disgust with the unusual to kind of play it up in a way that makes it really an intoxicating sequence. I don't know if it was the best sequence in the movie, and maybe it went on too long, but it was definitely fun to watch. And I think there was a lot of sequences like that, especially when Stellan Skarsgård is talking about fly fishing and how it's like how her and her friend were trying to get guys on the train. And Lars von Trier keeps it entertaining and light, even though this is kind of a sad, tragic subject. It's about an addict, like a sex addict. I think you have to understand how that person got into it and how it was at one time a lot of fun. In any addict, it didn't just start off and it's like super depressing. And I think that would probably work if you were to see the longer cut, which I don't know if I will, but it kind of works being cut up into two in almost the Kill Bill sense, because the first Kill Bill was a lot of fun and the second one was a lot more serious, and I get the sense that it's like that, but again, I'm just guessing and estimating. But Lars von Trier puts you on a wild enough ride that it's definitely an entertaining, odd little film, and I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. I almost feel like I don't really have like a thesis statement or a real analysis of this film, because I feel like that would be for the next volume, on Nymphomaniac Volume 2. Whereas this film, I thought it was fun and quirky and everything like that, but I'm not exactly sure where it's going, what's going to happen with the character of Joe as Charlotte Gainsbourg. I feel like Stacey Martin might not be in the next volume, but again, I don't really know. It did have kind of clips at the end for next time on Nymphomaniac. I'm curious to see what comes next, and this at least made me curious enough to see Volume 2 and actually want to see Volume 2. It was a surprising, interesting ride, and I'm not a huge Lars von Trier fan, but I found it eccentric enough and odd enough and captivating enough that I'd actually want to see Joe's whole story and have her continue with Stellan Skarsgård. And I like the kind of conversationalist tone of the whole piece, obviously because she's having a conversation with someone, but it definitely reflects in the film how in a conversation you can switch through various topics almost seamlessly, and you can then talk about how you and your friends are so weird that you switch topics. But Lars von Trier seems to be able to do that very well and efficiently, almost like at a nice party or a nice get-together, except this one is about sexually explicit stories. I think it's actually a fairly entertaining, fun movie despite, its subject matter. I know I'm going down a sad road probably with this character, but at least for now it's a lot of fun. And I think Lars von Trier gets that and gets what he's doing with that, but for now I'm just guessing. It was a lot of fun guessing with Nymphomaniac Volume 1, and I'm at least curious what's around the corner. So if you have seen Nymphomaniac Volume 1 and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. I'll have my next Nymphomaniac review of Nymphomaniac Volume 2 in about 3 weeks, and thank you for watching.